Hello everyone and welcome to another devlog video for Homegrown, the casual farming game I'm making using my own engine, and this week I'm going to be adding a feature that will allow the player to buy more land for their farm. So since the last devlog video I've been hard at work finishing up the big graphical overhaul update which I've been working on for the last few months or so, and there are still more graphical improvements that I'd like to make at some point, still plenty of visual changes and visual effects that I definitely want to add to the game before release. But for now, I'm going to be moving back to gameplay. And this week, as I said, it's going to be all about allowing the player to expand their farm area by buying more land. And I've already done most of the planning for this, so right now I'm ready to get into some programming. So the way that the land buying is going to work is that in the plots of land that you can purchase, there will be some for sale signs, and then you'll be able to click on those signs and that will allow you to buy that bit of land. So I've just been starting off by implementing the signs. I'm going to make the model for them later, so at the moment they're just these purple blocks, but you can interact with them, you can click on them, and that at the moment just prints out to the console. Next up, I've started work on writing the code for managing the plots of land in the game. So when you start the game, you own 2 plots of land here in this area. So because I own this land, I can dig in it and plant stuff in it. But out here, I don't own this land yet, so it won't let me dig there at the moment. But I've already tied this system up with the sale signs. So if I click on the sale block, it actually already purchases this land, and I'm now able to dig in it. So making good progress. I've just removed the fence around the farm because I'm going to have to redo the models for that anyway, so that I can then have the fence generating always around the area of land that you own. So I'll be doing that in a bit. First, I've been doing a bit more work on the sale signs. So just like before, I don't own this plot of land, but if I click on the sale sign, it buys that bit of land. So now I do own this land, and you can see it's now generated more for sale signs in the neighbouring plots of land. So I can keep buying new plots of land and potentially expand out my farm area over the entire map. Just made a quick model in Blender for the sale signs so that we don't have to look at those purple blocks anymore. And now I'm going to move on and start work on generating the fences around the land that you own. The purple blocks have returned again, this time in the form of fences, which now generate to surround any land that you own. So the area inside of these fences I can farm, the area outside these fences I can't farm, but of course I can purchase that land using the sale signs, and then the fences regenerate so that they're always surrounding all of the land that you own. I've just quickly made a little UI for when you're buying the land, so it shows you how much the plot of land is going to cost, and obviously gives you the chance to decide whether you actually want to buy it or not. And I know I've mentioned it before, but just a reminder, all the UI in the game at the moment is just placeholder. Like I did with the graphics for the game, I'm going to do a big overhaul of the entire UI at some point soon, so I'm not going to spend any longer trying to make this look nice for now. Instead, I'm going to get on to making the new model for the fences. So the fence model is back in the game. The purple blocks are gone for good this time. It's pretty much the same fence model as before. I just had to resize it a bit to make sure that all of the corners match up nicely when it generates. And that is now pretty much the basics of this new feature complete. So I can click on the sale signs, buy more land, and that expands the area of my farm. I have still got quite a few little edge cases to sort out though, and I also want to make a couple of small improvements to polish up this feature a bit. So first edge case that I'm tackling is the literal edge case. I don't want the player to be able to buy plots of land that are off the edge of the world, so I'm working on that at the moment. It turns out to be a pretty easy fix. I just stopped it from generating any sale signs in plots of land that aren't suitable, and that includes plots of land that are north of the house. Those are all unsuitable, and then any plots of land that are entirely water are also deemed unsuitable. So that solved that problem, but still got the issue, the obvious issue of the fences and sale signs spawning in the water. So that's what I'm going to fix next. So I've got the signs to always spawn on land now. The way this works is it tries to place the sign in the center of the plot, but if that's not a suitable location, then it does a search in a kind of spiral around the center, and it just keeps searching until it finds a suitable location to spawn the sign. So not much else to show you this afternoon. I was actually doing some in real life gardening, planting some of the seeds for the vegetables that I'm going to grow on my balcony this year. Now that spring's arrived, it's time to start planning all of that. But yeah, not much else to show you in the game today. I'll be back to work on it tomorrow. Good morning everyone, it's 7:20. I've just made myself some banana pancakes for breakfast today, and this morning I'm going to try and tackle the issue of the fences. The problem is, the model that I'm using for the fences is this. It's a section that's exactly the right size for one edge of a plot of land, but obviously if I want to stop the fence when it comes across water, I'm going to need to break this model up into the individual fence posts and then kind of put the fence together in the game. The fences are fixed now, so if I buy this bit of land, you can see the fences generate up to the water and then stop and just leave the water as a natural border to your farm. So that's looking a lot nicer now. And as I mentioned earlier, the way that this works is I'm now building the fence sections out of these individual fence posts. So I'm generating the fence posts one by one, and then when I come across some water, I can just stop generating the fence. There is one more thing about the fence that I want to fix quickly. I noticed that the fences aren't very consistent in which way they're facing. So for example here, you can see one section of fence is facing outwards, and the other is facing inwards. So I'm just going to try and make that a bit more consistent. The fences are all facing the right way now, and I think that's pretty much everything to do with the fences done. So next I just want to rearrange the home area a bit, because now that I've moved all the fences around, everything else is kind of a bit out of place. The house is so separate from the garden, and the compost heap spawns halfway in the fence. So just going to sort out the scenery a bit. So everything's back where it should be. The home area is looking nice again. I even got the fence generation to cut out when it reaches the house so that it doesn't clip right through it. And I think I'm pretty much done with this entire feature for now. There's still quite a few little polishing touches that I'd definitely like to add at some point. I'll talk more about them later, but for now I think I'm going to finish the week by creating one new vegetable for the game. the new plants in the game now, and it is the leek, and you can see it here in its various stages of growth, and this is what the seeds look like. And there's also one other plant that I added since the last devlog video that I haven't shown you yet, and that is the beetroot. So my plan is to start every now and again adding new vegetables into the game, because I'd like to slowly start building up the number of plants in Homegrown. I do want there to be quite a big variety by the time the game's released, so getting started with that now. Anyway, speaking of leeks, I'm going to have some for dinner. So before I finish, I just wanted to quickly mention a few of the improvements that I want to make to this feature at some point in the future. So I think the main one is that when you mouse over, or maybe when you click on one of the sale signs, it should definitely highlight the plot of land that you're going to buy, so you can actually see what it is that you're purchasing, because at the moment it's not exactly clear where exactly the land is that you're buying. Secondly, along the edge of the water, I've noticed that you quite often get these tiny plots of land. I mean, the plot of land is actually the same size as all the others, but because it's mostly water, you only end up with a few little squares of land, which is a bit silly. And I think in this situation, it should just combine that plot with one of the neighbouring plots, and then you can just buy them together. And then finally, it would just be nice to have a few little subtle animations on the fences and the signs when you're buying new land, so that they don't just disappear and appear. Instead, the fences could pop up out of the ground or something, just to make it look a little bit more polished. So I'll actually be working on this a bit more next week, so I'll implement some of those things then, and the rest I'll hopefully get round to sometime in the future. So that is going to be it for this video. Before I finish, I want to give a big shout out to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were Ross from 2 Minute Tabletop, Throbbing Wind, Nikat Asgazada, Zanil Ambakar, Atomic Code, Walden Yan, Chris Naismith, Alan Lance, Josiah Hillman, Dieter Reiner, Harry Chung, John Needham, Christopher Poe, Adam Farkas, Hagen Vingard, Matthew Connaughton, Andrew Witt, Marek Mikolajczyk, Sean McCrory, Caffeine Coder, Timothy Gibbons, Alexander Chavez, and Neil Blakey Milner. So a massive thank you to you guys, and of course to everyone else supporting me over on Patreon. For this week though, that is it, so thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.